over it fully. I will try to make it as quick as possible. I will give you my full opinions. You're welcome to also spew your own opinions. Just try not to be super, super negative, and remember that this is a PTB. Okay, so this is going to be the slugging reduction update as well. This is a major update. So basically what they are doing, if a survivor is left in the dying state for a total of 90 seconds during a match, so this is multiple times. If you get downed multiple times and get left to slug for like 15 seconds, then 30 seconds, it adds up is what I'm assuming. You'll be able to gain the ability to pick themselves up after fully recovering. So after 90 seconds total during a match, you'll be able to pick yourself up off of the ground and not be slugged anymore. I'm not necessarily mad at this. The only thing that I can say about this portion of it is that I would say you shouldn't be able to pick yourself up if there are survivors surrounding the killer. So kind of the same with the anti-hook, like the anti-face camp. I feel like it should be deactivated if other survivors are surrounding the killer. So in the instance that they are attempting to force you to pick up and force saves, because then it's a lose-lose situation for the killer, and then that feels unfair. That's the only thing that I would say to separate it. Aside from that, I'm not really like mad at it, essentially. I don't think it's horrible, but I do think that it does encourage dropping at pallets, flashlight saves, etc., etc. I would expect Lightborn to be a little bit more popular, but we shall see. But I'm not super, super mad at that one, but like I said, it's a little... I think there needs to be more to it than just this, because it's going to lead to situations like that. We're also getting gradually increases crawling speed for survivors who are left in the dying state. So it's basically base kit tenacity. So you're getting a speed boost, and you're going to be able to recover while you are on the floor. It's automatic. So it's base kit tenacity. I don't know what they're going to do with tenacity now. I'm sure it'll get reworked, but basically you're getting base kit tenacity. Updated several survivor and killer perks to account for these changes. That's the first portion of it. Anti-slugging update. Feel free to spew your opinions. Like I said, I'm not horribly mad at it. I understand what they're trying to do. I do think, though, that it feels a little unnecessary, considering they added the abandoned feature. There's multiple anti-slug perks, considering We're Gonna Live Forever, mixed with Made for This. We have Exponential. You have Unbreakable. Plus the abandoned feature. Now, it does feel like it wasn't as necessary as it felt before the abandoned feature. But again, I'm not completely mad at it. I do agree that the tenacity and the recovering being automatic feels so fucking stupid. Why did they even add that? It's like they're removing perks and making everything base kit. There's zero reason why tenacity and greater crawling speed should have been added. If you were going to add the 90 seconds, I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever, but why is tenacity and the movement speed happening? I don't understand why that got added in. That's just my opinions, I guess, that I can be added to that. It is a one-time thing. I did not see that. So one of my moms just said, did they see that they confirmed the 90 second is a one-time thing? Once you're at 90 seconds, you can permanently recover on your own. That's insane. Wait, like permanently? Like you can do it every single time? So apparently, if you're slugged for 90 seconds, you have perma unbreakable. I will be very shocked if that hits live servers. I will be insanely shocked. Permanent unbreakable is like no mither for free. You know? Again, this feels very, very extreme. This is just PTB, so this is not the full update yet. That is insane. There's no way that should come to live. There's no reason to ever have permanent unbreakable. So if that is something that behavior is doing, that's, in my opinion, that's extremely overboard. I don't think permanent unbreakable should ever be a thing. Considering unbreakable was a one-time use, now we're going to make it unlimited at 90 seconds. If it's going to be unlimited, it should be unlimited at 3 minutes. Because you have a 4-minute bleed out timer. So if it's going to be unlimited, it should be unlimited at 3 minutes, not at fucking 90 seconds. That's crazy. That's not even half your bleed out timer. Oh, I meant to go over one more thing with the slugging thing. I do think that, like, if the survivors are getting base kit unbreakable and base kit tenacity, I really feel like, and this might be a hot take, I really feel like killers should get base kit Deerstalker. 100%. Because there is no reason in hell why I shouldn't get base kit Deerstalker if you are encouraging me not to slug. You don't want me to slug, then I should have base kit Deerstalker because they have tenacity and fucking movement speed. I should be able to find my slug. so that I can pick them up and put them on their hook. But again, that might be a hot take. I think that 3 perks becoming base kit and the option of 1 perk being base kit for killers should be valid take, but again, guess it's going to be based off of other people's opinions as well. So the tunneling reduction update, this is another major update. So when a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. So before you'd be able to see the red aura of the hook and see the survivor hooked, you would get a loud noise notification when the survivor was unhooked. We will no longer be getting that. We will not get that noise notification. We will also not be able to see where the hook is. This encourages high game sense. So lower tier killers and beginner friendly killers, this is no longer a thing. You no longer have that beginner friendliness. You have to have high map awareness and you have to have good game sense to be able to remember where your hook was, to remember where those 2 survivors are. There's at minimum always going to be 2 survivors at an unhook, possibly 3. That's extreme good knowledge for killers. And you're not going to have that base anymore. So now you're going to have that game sense of where the survivors were. As a survivor, as like a killer main myself, I can barely remember who I've even hooked, never mind where my hook is, but if you have that good game sense, then you're going to be fine. But for killers with less skill or, you know, less time in the game, that's not going to be something that you're going to necessarily remember. You're not going to remember where that hook was to know where those 2 survivors was. I don't really think this is a bad change in the slightest. I'm just expressing what is going to happen. It just ups the skill level in the sense of game sense. This is disabled when all generators are completed. We already kind of expected that. Unhooked survivors gain the following effects for a limited time. They will get their haste, their endurance, which is normal, and they're going to get a new elusive status effect, which we'll go over later. Immunity to killer instinct and see the killer's aura nearby. So they base kit get to see what the killer's aura is if they're nearby, I'm assuming. I don't think it's just in general. I think it's only if the killer goes back to hook and like the killer's nearby, they can see the aura. They also are immune to killer instinct. This is the first ever time that we're seeing survivors get something that removes killer instinct. We've always had like nothing's been able to counter killer instinct. So this is the first time. Interesting. Again, I'm not really like upset at either of this. I think like it's not a bad thing. I'll go over why in a bit, but I'm not mad at that either. These effects are lost after the survivor performs a conspicuous action. So any conspicuous action, they lose all of those effects as usual, haste, endurance, and the elusive effect. All of these effects except haste, endurance are disabled once all generators are completed. So again, as normal, everything's disabled in endgame. Added a unique effect for the killer's hook state UI that indicates the last survivor they hooked. So when you hook a survivor, the last survivor that you hooked will have a little tally mark or something indicating that that was the last survivor that you hooked. Like, hey, this is the person that was last on hook. You're basically going to be like penalized if you go for that survivor again. There's going to be like a little indication that is stating like, hey, you just hooked the survivor, which I think is nice and hopefully helpful for killers who are not able to keep track of their hook states. After completing a unique hook, the same survivor is not hooked consecutively. The killer gains the following benefits. So if you get a unique hook, after every unique hook, you get this. You get bonus damage for the next generator kick. We are unsure. We are unsure of the percentage that we will be receiving, but we're apparently getting a bonus damage for generator kick. I'm sure it's nothing crazy. It's not gonna be like Pop Goes the Weasel or some shit, but I'm sure we'll get, I don't know, like 5%. I don't know what we're gonna get. I'm excited to see the numbers for this. Temporary haste status effect. So we're again getting haste as well. I don't know what this haste is going to be. This haste does not affect like any mobility killer. Like, why would they even give a fuck unless there's someone right next to the person that they just hooked and then they can play like that tile efficiently. But it's gonna be very beneficial for M1 killers to get to their next loop or get to their next person. I'm not sure, again, what the numbers are. They didn't give us any numbers, so I'm excited to see what that is in PTB. Temporary reveals survivors. Think of base kit, barbecue, and chili. This I'm excited about. That have less or equal hook states to the hook survivor. So whoever is on the hook, say I hooked Nia. She has 1 hook. Nancy has 2 hooks. Fong and someone else. Two other survivors have 0 hooks. One has 2 hooks. One has 1. The one on the hook just got hooked. So I will only be able to see the 2 people with 0 hooks, not the person with 2 hooks. You'll not be able to see their aura. So you'll be able to see the aura of anybody with the same amount of hooks or less amount of hooks. You'll get that base kit barbecue, they say, but I think it could be any distance. I don't think it's going to be like how barbecue is, I think it's 40 meters for barbecue. It's going to be, you just see the auras no matter what. I think that that's very, very beneficial to a lot of killers. I'm very happy about that. I think some people are going to be upset about it. This is the funniest and weirdest thing for me, and I feel like it's very interesting to see. So these effects are slightly lessened for the Blight, the Dark Lord, the Ghoul, the Hillbilly, and the Nurse. This feels... Some people say that it's because they're high mobility, but Nurse is not high mobility. Especially if she gets corn attacked. You know what I mean? If she gets, like, edge mapped, I really feel like this is them stating who some of their strongest killers are. And that's why they get the lessened effect, which, again, might be a hot take, but I do think that they're kind of stating, like, hey, these killers are pretty strong. They might not need that extra aura. Well, also, I don't know what lessened means. Like, is it just gonna be less time? Like, I'm not really sure exactly what this is going to be. But it'll be less effective on the Blight, the Dark Lord, the Ghoul, the Billy, and the Nurse. I'm actually kind of shocked that it's not for the Spirit as well. But yes, those are the ones that it is not as effective for. Or like Singularity, but here we are. Anyways, these effects are disabled once the generators are complete, per usual. Add new effects to de-incentivize, I can't pronounce that word, tunneling. If a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, all remaining survivors gain repair speed bonus. We don't know that speed yet, for the rest of the trial. So with this, you have to have 6 hook states total. That means that you have to have 2 survivors death hook and 2 survivors solo hooked. That is insane amount of hook spreading that they are expecting out of the killers to then not gain a gen progression, in my opinion. I might be wrong. It might not be that high of a difference. But it feels kind of extreme to expect that much of hook spreading, because that's nowhere near even soft tunneling. So it's like, I don't know how I feel about it. 6 hooks feels like a lot before you're able to allow a kill. Again, we'll see if survivors that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed. Generators cannot be regressed or blocked. This is the hottest fucking... This is ridiculous. And this is the one thing that I will say is absolute bullshit. If survivor that was hooked last is sacrificed or killed, doesn't matter when. Doesn't matter when. Generators cannot be regressed or blocked. So put yourself in a situation. You are at 1 gen. There is 1 gen left on the map. You have each survivor is death hook. Each survivor is death hook. You killed the person that you just hooked. So you tunneled them out at 1 gen. I don't even like to say tunneling when it's 1 gen. That's crazy. You tunneled them out at 1 gen. For pressure, because it's at 1 gen. And now you lose the entire ability to regress any of those last 3 generators. For the entire match. You cannot kick the generator. You cannot block the generator. That's insane. If you then leave them alone, you cannot find anybody else. So let's say you leave them alone because you don't want to lose that regression, right? You're like, I don't want to be able to not regress the gen. That survivor is hard sticking a gen. That survivor is hard sticking a gen, right? The last gen. That survivor that you just hooked is hard sticking a gen. What are you going to do? Not go for them because it's tunneling? It's like, I can't hook them. I can't hook them because I will lose all gen reg, but they're hard sticking a gen. And I can't slug them because they'll pick themselves up in 90 seconds. That's where, like, watch them do the gen. There you go. That's the best answer I've seen yet. Watch them do the gen, let them win, and GG easy. It feels like there's a little bit of wonkiness to it. Like I said, I'm happy to give, like, survivors, like, a nice quality of life update. We all understand that being hard tunneled sucks. You know, it's not fun. Nobody wants to wait in the lobby. I very much understand that hard tunneling sucks. I'm not encouraging hard tunneling, but what I'm saying is making it so that you can't kick a single generator if somebody does get tunneled, especially in endgame, is kind of crazy in my opinion. Like I said, if that person, if you can't find any of the other 3 survivors because they're ratting out and they know that they can rat out because that last person is just going to sit on a generator because they can't be hooked without losing all of your gen regression perks is insanity, and that needs to be rethought. That's the only part that I'm completely 100% against. Yeah, and that's the thing is, does it work if they're left on hook? You know what I mean? I don't know. It feels weird. It doesn't, that part doesn't feel beneficial to anything. It just feels way overkill. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, we'll move on from that. Hopefully this doesn't hit the end because this is stupid. That's the only part, like I said, I don't like this one. The rest I'm not stressed about. I do like the elusive fact. That's not bad. I think that that should have been the only thing. The elusive effect, the haste, the endurance, the no collision, all of that is great. Immunity to killer instinct, great. The effects are lost when survivors conspicuous action, great. I like the after completing unique hook, so promoting not wanting to go for the same survivor, great. I'm happy with that. I'm iffy on this one, and then I'm iffy, and then I hate this one. I think this one is stupid as fuck because there's too many circumstances that it can be abused. The rest is great. I think the elusive effect, the haste, the endurance, the not getting killer instinct, not getting aura, getting the killer aura, those are all a step in the correct direction to avoid being tunneled. That is great. That stuff is great. But this doesn't feel okay. The elusive status effect, to explain what that is. So it adds a new status effect that silence grunts of pain and suppresses survivors' aura, pools of blood, and scratch marks. We don't know how long that effect is going to be active after the unhook, but I like that. That's fine. Elusive, haste, endurance, no aura. You know what I mean? They're basically getting, oh, get away from the hook. You know what I mean? Get away from the hook. You won't get tunneled. That's exactly what should happen, and that is completely fine. I'm completely okay with that. I think all of that is okay. It's just the last 2 points that I'm like, The lore update, we're just getting lore again. They're going to be updating the tomes to give us lore, which is great. We always love some new lore. The shape update. I'm sorry. Anyways, the shape is getting a major update. This is a complete rework. He doesn't even work the same. I'm so curious what you guys will think on this update, if you think he will be better than D tier or if he's going down to like F or like up to C, because there's no way he's better or worse than any of those three. So we're gonna go over it. I'll explain it. He's basically a dash killer now. So we're making the shape a dash killer. Replace Evil Within with 2 modes that can be toggled with a button press. Stalker mode, which he's at 4.6 movement speed, undetectable, and can stalk survivors. So Scratch Mirror. He can go to Pursuer mode, which is he's a 4.6 killer movement speed, 24 meter tear radius, which is still really good for a stealth killer. Increased vault speed, which is really nice. Bonuses to lunge range, great. Break speed and stun recovery, and cannot stalk survivors. So he's basically getting like regular movement speed, increased vault speed, increased lunge range, which I'm gonna think it's gonna be like a baby coup. Break speed, so like kind of brutal, and stun recovery, kind of enduring. But I don't think it's gonna be like all of those to the full effect. But he cannot stalk survivors to gain his evil incarnate. He can only get his evil incarnate through the stalker mode. So he has to be in that 4.6 undetectable stage to be able to get that, to get to his evil incarnate. So once the stock meter is full, we don't know how full it has to be. He will gain an evil incarnate mode, which can be triggered at will, which I think is really nice. You fill up the meter. You're not going to have to like 99 the meter anymore. You're going to fill up the meter and then be able to press the ability button to activate it when you want to activate it. Here's where it becomes where I don't know if it's a buff or a nerf. Granting the following effects for a limited time. Note, survivors no longer become exposed. Take that into consideration. He's no longer an exposing killer. He has a 4.6 movement speed and a 40 meter terror radius and increased vault speed again. So I don't know if these stack, if it's double vault speed. I don't think so, though. I think that this is a separate thing, so just increased vault speed. He unlocks the Slaughtering Strike ability. Hold the power button to charge his ability, reducing movement speed. Press the attack button while charging to quickly lunge forward, adjusting your angle as you move. The length of the lunge depends on the charge time. Okay? If a survivor enters the killer's attack range while lunging, they are knocked into the dying state. This ability can now be used to destroy pallets. Okay? Unlocks the ability to grab and perform a regular Mori on survivors who die the next time they are hooked. So you get like base get Mori, but not at like 1 hook anymore. Adjusted some of the mechanics of stalking. Remove the limited pool for stalking survivors so you can unlimitedly stalk now. Reduces the range of stalk to 32 meters and remove distance modifier. So before, if they were further away, you'd gain more stock. And if they were closer, you'd gain less stock. That's no longer a thing. And 32 meters is now your new range for being able to stock. I don't know what it originally was, so I don't know if that's like a buff or a nerf in that sense. Moving while stalking has increased movement speed, but incurs a reduced stock rate. So if you're moving while you are stalking them, you're going to gain less stock. And then they reworked his add-ons. I'm assuming Tombstone and Scratch Mirror are going to be dead. Myers a dash killer? How we feel? I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this, but I feel like giving him a dash just makes him feel like Pig. That has to work for her ability. You know what I mean? I don't know. And then also, like, he loses his exposed effect, which I think was the only strong thing about Myers. Myers was only strong with good add-ons and the fact that he had exposed, and now he has neither of those because they're removing his good add-ons and they're removing his exposed effect. So I don't know. The dash does one shot. Okay, period. It says that they're not exposed though, so I wasn't too sure. I have to see it because it does say that they're not exposed, but the dash puts them in the dying state, so it kind of felt counteractive. So I was like, I wasn't sure the wording on that. You know what I mean? Because if you look at like both, it kind of looks weird. So like if you're in the evil incarnate state, note survivors no longer become exposed. Okay, cool. But then it also says if the survivor enters the killer's attack range while lunging, they're knocked to the dying state. It's like they're not exposed, but they are. You know what I mean? It feels counteractive, or like they're literally like countering their own words. You know what I mean? So if they get a dash, I wish that they would have showed it like with Dwight healthy, because he's getting a dash. You know what I mean? I wish they would have showed it as he's healthy, but they're not. The clown's getting a minor update, so increased activation time for the After Spice antidote. Sorry, I always call it After Spice instead of After Peace. I'm so sorry. Increases the activation time of the After Peace antidote. So just basically it's a little less brain dead. They're making it so you can't just throw it at your feet and just go. It's going back reverted to what it was before, where you have to like throw it ahead of yourself to be able to use it efficiently. I think that's great. I think that was one of the major issues with the clown. So I'm excited for that. Increases how long the After Peace tonic hindered effect lingers after leaving smoke. Cool. That's fine. I think that those are both minor updates. I think that those are good. I think it might put Clown in a little bit of a healthier spot. The Unknown is also getting a little medium update. So increase the additional time added to weaken when injured when injured by a UVX projectile. So increases additional time added to weaken when injured by a UVX projectile. That's fine. Increased movement recovery after teleporting. That's a nice little buff. Increased camera vertical range, which is great, so you'll be able to get better snipes because you can look higher up. And then adjusted several add-ons. I'm excited to see what add-ons that they do change. That's it with that. So it seems like a nice little buff for him. Nothing too crazy. The Dark Lord's getting a medium update as well. The reason why they did this update for the Dark Lord is to push people away from just using the dog mode, because the dog mode was his strongest mode, and pushing them to also use vampire and like bat, which they do use bat as well, but it was typically not as much with the vampire mode. So they slightly reduced Hellfire cooldown, so you'll get it more often. You also get one more pillar of Hellfire. Reduces Hellfire charge movement speed. That one's a little bit of like, you know, slightly increased slowdown time after casting the Hellfire. So that's good too. Wolf form, increased pounce attack charge time, increased scent orb spawn time. So the wolf form got a little bit of a nerf. The vampire form got a little bit of a buff. Increases movement friction to make flying easier to control. So the bat's getting, if you want to call it a buff, it seems like it's just like a quality of life for the bat form. So bat form buff, vampire form little buff, wolf form slight nerf, just to try to probably equal out him using all of his abilities is what it's seeming like. The ghoul, he has a medium update. So when grabbing a survivor on the other end of a vault with the Kagune leap, the survivor is released at the start of the ghoul's vault instead of at the end. This is coming from a ghoul main, a P100 ghoul. All they did was remove the kidnap tech. I'm happy. I'm not upset about it. And this is coming from a P100 ghoul. I think it's healthy. I think it's good that they're removing kidnap tech. I didn't think it should be in the game. Regardless, it felt like a lose-lose for survivor. You know what I mean? And we never want a lose-lose situation, which we went over earlier. It seems like they're introducing a lot of lose-lose situations for killers. with the kidnap tech, it was a lose-lose situation for the survivors, so I'm completely fine with them removing this tech for the ghoul. The Oni, it's a minor update. He's just getting more blood orbs on hooked survivors. It's going to incentivize to him to basically hook the survivors versus slugging. So he'll get more orbs when he hooks the survivors so that he can get his power back quicker and not feel like he needs to use all of his power right then and there and slug the survivors, basically. So more blood orbs. I think that's a really, really nice update for Oni. I think that it's kind of unfair, though, that the twins didn't get some kind of update with the anti-slug mechanic. I feel like, I don't want to say that Victor should be able to hook, because that's crazy, but like, she doesn't have much of a choice but to leave slugs. Literally her power is slugging. So it's kind of weird. It's like, what is she supposed to do? Especially with base kid's tenacity now. Like, she's forced to slug no matter what. Like, she can't pick up. So I don't really know what they planned on doing with the twins. The twins was already a dead killer, and now she's gonna be even more, like, dead. Because, like, she literally can't slug. So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do about twins, bro. They didn't tell us what perks they're updating yet. But there's gonna be various perk updates. I'm sure it's gonna be like tenacity, unbreakable, decisive strike, maybe. I don't know. OTR, maybe. Like, any anti-tunnel might get fixed a little bit. Tenacity, obviously. Things like that will be fixed. But that is everything.